and Rain are kind of like the Protoss that rose up, and then he wasn't, right? But yeah. Spawning in the bottom left-hand side, it is the man that disappointed me, but can still make up for it. Goblin! For Team Roddy.
What a brutal intro. He disappointed me. You know what? This man disappointed me too last time. He lost me some channel points. Well, at least that's what a lot of people in the chat are thinking. In the top right side from Team Liquid, it is Clem. You are completely right. Goblin was like, you know, there was like a bunch of like 16-year-old kid tournaments, and it was like Clem, Goblin, Reno. I remember Roddy ran one of them. It was like Sweet 16 or like there was something like that. So yeah, it was it kind of felt like he was going to rise, but then Reno skyrocketed, Clem skyrocketed, and Goblin maybe not quite so much. But I also feel like Goblin was the player who maybe lost motivation here and there a little bit, kind of slowed it down. He just didn't quite seem to have the same drive that Clem and Reno had for a long time, but when he does practice, like you can tell when he's been practicing because he levels up big time. You know, there's a massive step up in his performance when he starts putting the work in again. Exactly that.
Yeah, out of the three, he's the one that I've talked to the most. I consider him a close friend, and you know, that's partly why I give him a little bit of crap. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, he is a little bit lazy from time to time, to not, you know, like, that's just to put it plainly, I suppose. And when he is practicing and when he has his head in the game and when he wants to improve, he feels like he comes up with his own strategies and you know, his own style, and he is excellent at it, and he is very intelligent, and that's why I felt like he had so much potential, right? Because if all he's lacking at times, I think, is the motivation, and yeah, hopefully he can find that. All that said, last I spoke to him about his current state, like a few days ago, he felt like he is playing well right now. This matchup, not so confident, and I mean difficult to be confident against Clem, and in a matchup that you haven't been playing too much, but overall, he feels like his level of play has risen in recent history, and that's an exciting prospect. Yeah, and I'm 100% behind that. I've noticed that I put him as a favorite on, I think, the matches we've seen of him so far in this event, even if things haven't always gone his way. He's definitely been stepping it up a bit, as we do see this Reaper coming across the map. Stalker is there to try and fight the Reaper, and Reaper gets shoved away for the moment. Stargate is building from Goblin, and Clem just moving into that tech lab on the factory, so he's already getting a good setup against the Stargate. Cyclone's going to be nice and early, and Clem is one of these players who loves just pushing early with like Marine Cyclone if he sees a Stargate. So that is a possibility if Goblin gets a little too greedy. Maybe Clem sees that opportunity. We'll find out very shortly what he will be thinking of this situation as things are obviously getting progressing. Yeah, and it's very likely that we see Phoenix from Goblin. That's just a unit that he really likes a lot, and it's gonna be pretty good here in this matchup against the likes of Widow Mines and such, right? Like, Phoenix can be great at catching those drops, at lifting those Widow Mines, and doing something about that. There isn't such play coming out from the side of Clem, but he will still, you know, be able to cross the map. They're still pretty good against any units in small numbers, pretty good against mech units and the likes of Cyclones as well. So yeah, absolutely. As no surprise to see Phoenix, right, just on the way out, rallying out from Goblin, playing his same old, and Clem already going into a tank. I mean, he could really get aggressive with a push early on, and if he's going to have a tank involved, there's some potential. I mean, it feels like you don't need the tank defensively right this early, so yeah, excited to see what he turns this into, because like I say, some aggressive possibility, or he's just that respectful of what Goblin's up to. And that was his bane in the series against Shutdown, right? Like, we were talking about, like, the series that he dropped, he played over defensively, so he has to be careful not to do the same thing, because if Goblin catches wind of what Clem wants to do, if he takes a very fast third, for example, in the way that Shutdown did, that could be really good. With that said, the Phoenix is a big investment on the side of Goblin, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to match Shutdown's timing, but nonetheless, he is going to go for this third. Marine and Adept just staring across the room from each other, but the Adept is going to get the better of the Marine, as they always do. Yeah, Adept's pretty good, aren't they? As we do see, Marines and the Cyclone will go to the low ground, and we now have 2 tanks out. At what point is Clem? I mean, it feels like Clem wants to do something. I mean, Stim's halfway done. Maybe we'll just have like a very high tank push for the time he pushes with like Stim and everything, so that could obviously still be very scary then as well. You don't have to push immediately. Just very excited to see what Goblin will try and do against it. Love the fact he's going charge. That is great against what Clem was trying to do. If Clem does end up pushing with these tanks as he moves out now, being able to wrap around with Zealot is absolutely the way to shut it down. If he was trying to get Colossi out, that would be a whole bunch tougher. Yeah, I mean, this is still kind of tough, I think, for Goblin, because it's going to be so difficult to find value out of this Phoenix. Like, they can lift the tank to be a little bit annoying. Maybe, oh, they can pick this off. That's huge, actually, and that's a huge overextension as well from Clem, because, again, it was going to be difficult to find value with this Phoenix, and no, all of a sudden, Goblin finding insane value with a lined-up army that Clem was kind of throwing at him with not much respect to what he could be doing out in the middle of the map. So now the army's clumped up, but it's a little bit too late. With that, he'll push Goblin back, but that buys so much time and a great trade to start for the Croatian.
Yeah, I mean, that's really great. I can't believe Clem is still moving forward, by the way. Charge is going to be done in a sec. If you can get like a round of Zealots warped in here as Goblin, you can probably commit in quite easily. These Marines have stim, they'll soon have combat shield, but there's no medevac healing, so if you stim, that's permanent damage, right? You know, those Marines will already be low. Yeah, a couple extra Zealots warping in. I believe some extra gates just finished, so maybe we can get that Zealot count just up that little bit further. And then we'd be in a great spot. Here we go. Phoenix going to lift up one of the tanks, going to go for the other. I mean, he's going to get the tanks pretty quickly. Now these Marines are just going to kite into the corner, and that's a cleanup from Goblin. It's a good one at that. He's going to be in a great position coming out of this, and I can't believe that Clem doubled down on this position after he saw what his opponent was doing until now.
That was very uncharacteristic from Clem. I think that that was very strange. I mean, the movement out in the middle of the map to get caught like he did was already pretty bad, and then just not clumping up your army and then proceeding with a tiny army. I even felt like Goblin could have re-engaged when the Marines weren't all together still, when the reinforcements hadn't arrived, and there was like 6 Marines against still 4 or 5 Phoenix. I think he could have cleaned more of those. And it's not like Goblin took a brilliant engagement either. I think he could have just attacked, moved, and lifted anything with those Phoenix, and he would have cleared as good, if not better, than he did, to be honest.
Yep, I don't disagree. It's just see the Phoenix here picking up more Marines. Look at the supply difference, my goodness. I mean, Clem clearly knows he has to bunker up. He's SimCity and the crap out of his natural expansion. And yeah, Goblin just, I mean, this is the point in the game where I feel like Goblin says, oh, okay, well, I can't break into that. Let's just take it forth. Let's tech up in any way I can. And just make sure my Phoenix keep track of any medevac drops potentially and stuff like that. I mean, in a situation like this, it feels like Goblin should be sailing to a victory.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, he has map control. He has the Phoenix, which are going to provide him with value over time. And yeah, I mean, continue to kind of secure map control for him as well. So he will be aware, or should be aware, of what Clem is doing. Those Phoenix have no trouble running away from anything. He could turn around for those Marines. Again, Goblin kind of getting a little bit, Clem getting a little bit too far ahead of the rest of his pack there. So he has to be more careful.
Yep, has to be very cautious. The Phoenix still going to just stay out the front. Just going to move out over that right-hand side. 1-1 upgrades all coming through from Goblin as well. So bringing that 1-1 up. Again, the Nexus underway. Robo Bay is about to complete as well. All of that continuing to get going here as these few Phoenix just going to pull back down the center. Now going to be able to grab a Marine kill.
Yeah. Not sure that they need to fall back either, right? Because they are the fastest unit out on the map right now, but maybe Goblin feels like he wants to tend to his macro and just tend to other things. Maybe make sure that he's dropping production facilities and just everything that he needs and not have to pay attention to the Phoenix, because otherwise they should just be out on the map kind of threatening and slowing things down.
Yeah, as Zealots keep on coming through, a couple Stalkers as well. We are going to get a scan out the front here, so just being able to see Clem, Clem knows what's going on. He sees what he might be attacking into. Goblin, I mean, another minute or so, and Goblin's going to have a Colossus, right? Thermal Lance, 1-1 upgrades are well underway now. It does feel like Clem needs to do something almost, but then I don't like the idea of him attacking in either. It feels like he's in a bit of a stalemate right now, like, damned if he does, damned if he does.
Yeah, the Widowmines and Burrow actually at kind of a bad time for Clem, though he is going to take note of what's going on. This is a good corner for Clem to kind of hold, and he's trying to bait Goblin into it. This would be a decent place to attack. Now, as he goes further into the high ground, there's going to be a little bit more of an opening for Goblin to take an engagement out in the open here. He has so many Zealots, though. Maybe too many Zealots, Wordy.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like the Zealots if he gets a few of them around the left side so he can come in from 2 different angles. Here, pops Guardian Shield. He's going to go. These Phoenix need to lift up as many mines as possible, but they end up just eating all the mine shots. The Phoenix get obliterated. I mean, that just wasn't quite it, letting too many mines go off there. But the Zealots going to continue through. This Colossus needs to get forward. Oh, man, Goblin. It's moments before 1-1. Do you think he had to pull the trigger right then? Could he have waited for 1-1? I feel like he might have been okay to just wait a little while. It's not like he caught Clem unsieged or anything.
Yeah, I didn't like that move. I didn't like his army either. It's just, I think, too many zealots, and so they didn't really provide a lot of DPS. They really needed that Colossus, like you were saying, to step forward, or to have at least, you know, Guardian Shield, a couple of Stalkers in the back like he has now, just a little bit more mixed of an army that can actually output more damage than just whatever the front line is. Because against that many Marine Marauder, they're just gonna, you know, there's not gonna be enough surface area, whereas the entire Marine Marauder force is gonna be shooting back at you. So I guess he thought if I lift up the mines, which he kind of did successfully, then the Zealots should have a favorable engagement against whatever's left, but just not quite, right? It didn't work out too well.
Yep, no, absolutely. This is, yeah, it feels like there's just a set of fights there from Goblin. It just wasn't quite what it was meant to be, and now Clem getting a 4th base, Ghosts, Vikings, you know, all the tech is coming online for him, and it just feels like this is where Clem is really improved his game lately. He doesn't need to stay on low tech in this matchup anymore. He's very comfortable in the later game, and that terrifies me because I feel like what Goblin's strength was in this matchup before against Clem was his style was very good if Clem just kept making units and trying to spam attacks and so on, which is what Clem liked to do. He's an aggressive player. But now that Clem is just so much more comfortable later game, I feel like Goblin might struggle here, and yeah, especially after taking a bad loss. Let's see what happens on this next fight, because Clem's already coming across the map to fight again. He is not slowing down at all.
Yeah, the only good news for Goblin here is I guess he has a lot of Colossus, only 3 Vikings out here for Clem, so I think the Colossus can still do a ton of work here. There's so many corners to be turned for Zealots on this map that I really don't like to be too Zealot heavy, but he's kind of readjusted a lot better, Goblin, that is, as compared to his previous army. He has a ton of Zealots, but he also has like a little bit more firepower behind it.
Yep. Yes, he does. Just going to see the battery coming over, 5 Colossi coming to that right side as well. Bioforce of Clem back up to the top, and just going to be seeing another Nexus down in the bottom right-hand corner to getting that set up. And obviously just, the good news is it's difficult for Clem to attack into these positions, so at least then Goblin might be able to hang on, draw this game out, get the upgrades up. Love that he's getting a couple of Immortals, I think, because it just buffs up the army that much more, so I do kind of like that. I feel like I'd probably prefer to see some Disruptors, though.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I guess it's just ease of use here, right, with the Immortals. But there is some Marauders being added, so that will be nice of a unit to have to attack move sort of thing here. So that is a lot of Vikings now are being added, at least 3 at a time from Clem right now. So Goblin has to try to match that with that Blink. Maybe he'll start warping in some more Stalkers. Actually, he has a pretty good number here, so might be okay.
Well, actually, might lose a couple of Ghosts here. All the Ghosts on the front lines.
Yeah.
Just about pulls it back, gets onto that choke. The Viking count's scary enough for the Colossi. Can't just go chasing. There goes the Prism immediately going down. And these choke points kind of favor one guy, then favor the other. It goes back and forth a lot. The Stalkers need to start picking their way through those Vikings. Otherwise, the Colossi are in trouble. Now we're blinking forward and chasing down. And yeah, we just go left, right, apparently.
Yeah, Clem looking for a little bit of a concave there at the bottom of that ramp. So now he's chasing back. I think Goblin can turn around, to be honest. I mean, he wants to, I guess, shield back his Colossus here at the shield battery. So he's going to use the battery overcharge. That's very clever, actually, because, you know, you can go out and fight again once they are all healed, but one single battery worth of energy wouldn't do it. So even though normally you just use the battery overcharge to kind of provide defense when your opponent's attacking, here this was a pretty good use just to kind of fuel things back up. I don't know that Clem needed to drop there, by the way. Just 2 Phoenix threatening the medevacs.
Could have just gone straight into the main as I didn't need to drop off into the Zealots, but actually turns out okay for him, honestly. You still find that left side as he pushes in on the right here. Now the Colossi are just sitting back there, afraid of how many Vikings there are, so unable to really engage properly. Now the Vikings are like, nah, I'm just going to chase you down, and boom, one shot after one shot. This time takes a couple hits, and geez, I mean, Goblin's just losing so much.
He is losing a lot for free, right? Like, I think at that point, or at some point, he just has to make a stand and just engage with the Colossus there, because otherwise you're just gonna lose them over time for free. So it is no bueno. I would much rather them just deal as much damage as they can before dying to the Vikings and just accept that they're gonna die rather than dying a slow death instead. But now he has replaced most of his AoE by those Disruptors. Vikings will have a difficult time dodging with anything what's short of just flying back in the air.
Yep, as Disruptor Shot comes through and is able to clip a Ghost right there. Goblin's still pushing up, and he's going to come up the right-hand side, gets a Marauder, gets a Ghost, and EMP goes down. And at least Goblin chasing back and getting some kills as he goes. But Clem has just been expanding non-stop. I feel like he's very comfortable with the army he's got, and obviously now Goblins on this army, which is mostly Disruptors, which is great at defending, don't get me wrong. It's not going to have the same pushing potential as the Colossi used to have. Well, this could be good, though. This could be great, but Clem is paying attention.
Yeah, he's going to be paying attention. A little bit of an awkward blink here, but it's going to make way for the rest of the Disruptors. And now Clem hiding behind those nasty corners of this map as Goblin continues to zone out. And if he can push Clem against the corner, then against the wall, then that'll be pretty good for these Disruptors, right? Like in the middle of the map, that is where the Disruptors are at their worst, because your opponent can always just kind of run away from them and there's little downside. But when you're up with your back against the wall at your natural expansion, or any expansion really, where you want to kind of like not lose SCVs or anything like that, then you're kind of forced to run into the Disruptor shots.
Yeah, but I mean, that could have been disastrous as well if Clem wasn't paying attention. I was worried about how low HP Clem's army was, but I think he realized that too, so he backs it up a little bit and says, yeah, let's get healed up before I, go again and try and make anything else happen. As now Goblin comes around this far right-hand side and going to eat an EMP. Not too big of a one. Shots are firing and just trying to get around the corner, but unable to. And again, this positional warfare continues for the moment.
Yeah, upgrades continuing as well on the side of Clem. Liberators being added, which is going to be the tool that he's going to need to zone out these Disruptors. But at the moment, the numbers aren't there. Goblin not really focus firing the Disruptor. Oh, okay, now he does focus fire the Liberator, and the splits are pretty good from Clem. I mean, he's fighting out in the open, but still Goblin has a lot. Oh.
Yeah, the supply is dropping pretty heavily on both sides, but Goblin has so much money to spend to rebuild here, so I mean, coming back out of this, Goblin should be looking good. Okay. He just blinked a few Stalkers back, which is a shame, because I feel like actually with these Zealots warping in, he could have blinked forward and been on the medevac chase, and yeah, Clem is in trouble, man. He's going to start losing medevacs now as well. The Zealots are still tanking what is only Marauders, so they just don't die to Marauders, right? And yeah, Clem getting really shot down big time here. He will get a Liberator to help him out, but that will be about all.
Yeah, that was a great warping from Goblin, because it was just pure Zealots against Marauders that you were pointing out. So good identifying what his opponent has. A little bit of a slip up there on the blink could have punished a little bit harder. And the scary thing here is that Clem is making 3 Liberators at once. So if Clem gets back up to max, if Clem continues to keep up in the supply, it's going to be more difficult, I think, compositionally for Goblin to engage up until he gets his own tech transition in the double Stargate and Fleet Beacon that he's adding, probably for carriers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Goblin can get there safely, I feel like he can be in a great spot. That's where he loves to be. We know that. Okay. I like the Tempest, actually, because I feel like that's... A, they're going to build faster, and it's going to give an immediate response to the Liberators. And I think he's recognized my immediate problem in this game, Liberators. That's what I lose to right now. If these Liberators get a good siege up, I can't break through them because Stalkers blinking into Libs isn't usually very pretty. I love it. I feel like Goblin is identifying his potential ways to lose this game, and is really adapting well to playing around that.
Yeah, in retrospect, I think you're completely right? Like, if he gets enough carriers, then his army is going to be, very, very strong. You're invincible, perhaps, but with the army that he has right now, he's invested so heavily onto the ground and onto those Disruptors that identifying and accounting for his most immediate threat and the Liberators is going to be the best way to approach things. So this is really good already with the Tempest and the Stalkers in tandem, getting the 2 Liberators here at the front. Clem's still trying to push the issue, which I'm not sure that he can.
Yeah, I'm not sure he can really make too much happen, but he is dropping elsewhere at the same time, and that might be one of the better ways for him to get set up in amongst all of this. So that part of it, I don't mind quite as much, and he is doing well. But the Stalker blink kills the full medevac. Goblin, is it a problem that he's losing that left side base? Is he going to run out of bases here? I know he's been kind of floating money a little bit while max, so he's been okay, but if he doesn't keep a base alive, that bank disappears after one single rebuild, right? And that just obviously then is absolutely no good for you.
Yeah, that really is the problem here, as it looks like a difficult fight for Clem. But like you said, he has the economy, he has the real estate. A little bit of a flank here with the Disruptor is just going to end up giving its life for not too much here, as the Tempests will shepherd back this army of Clem back to his side of the map. But Clem is pretty happy here in his position. If he doesn't die, if he doesn't outright lose his entire army, he has the real estate. Like I said, he has the income, he has the workers to replenish and play this for the long run. Yeah,
he really does. As another disrupted shot fires forward, you see 3 Tempests are building as well right now from Goblins, so getting those up and online. Those 2 air weapons is about to finish as his liver is just going to chunk through a whole bunch of these probes.
Yeah, that is further annoying because he's already lying goblin that is in probes by 15, and never mind mules as well, right? So goblin really needs to take some cost-efficient engagements here. He does have the tools to do so in the disruptors and the tempests, right? Like it's a pretty cool combo because the tempests kind of are great at forcing engagements. They have the longest range on the map right now, so they kind of tell your opponent, hey, if you don't come running at me, I'm gonna be firing at you for free. If you engage, you're gonna struggle to disengage because I'm gonna tax you on the retreat. And the disruptors say the opposite. They say, do not come at me or I'm gonna shoot you with my balls.
That is exactly what they say, Cat. Word for word. It's just going to see a Bioforce. I think this is a dead base. I mean, Goblin just cannot keep bases alive, it seems. And just as he was starting to get the left set back up, I mean, that's what Clem's good at, right? He says, oh, you're trying to take control over there? Well, let me punish you over here instead. And he's really just finding the weaknesses of Goblin and exploiting them pretty heavily right now.
Yeah, and that is a weakness of the composition, right? Like as much as in a frontal engagement, what I just said is pretty true in an engagement where there's no engagement, where your opponents just kind of run in circles around you because they have the more mobile army. You kind of struggle to give chase because both of those units, the core units of your army, are fairly slow.
Yeah, no, they really are. That's no other way to say it. You do end up in trouble in those situations, absolutely. And Clem's now getting nukes. Just to make this annoying, right? You can nuke harass, of course. Obviously, just be able to kind of make Goblin look one place and attack the other.
Yeah, this could be good though for Goblin, finally, because both players are in the same location. It's not going to be an easy engagement, but this is the best case scenario for him, rather than just being run around from Clem. So let's see if he can do something. Uses a lot of disruptor shots already, and with just those two liberators, Clem managing to zone out enough to take down yet another base, leaving Goblin with less than half of an effective mining base. So if we look at the income right now, it is not looking great.
No, it's not pretty to say the very, very least. It's rather nasty, in fact. So not feeling good right now as we just see Goblin's going to come pushing up through the middle of the map. There's going to be a big drop heading toward the main, so we are going to see something over there. And that's obviously, I mean, Goblin more or less on an all-in push, right? He's not rebuilding bases. He's not resetting economy. He's all in with this attack, and his army is scary, and especially when Clem has 4 Medivac units across the map guaranteeing that this is all in, it does open the doors a little bit for Goblin to maybe make some progress and maybe be threatening enough, at least for a little while here.
Yeah, he has to go for the production here. I don't think that he can go for the economy. There's just too many bases to take down, but he thinks otherwise. He's going to go for the PF in the middle there. I don't like this, because even if you kill 2 bases, you're still behind in terms of economy here if you're Goblin.
Yeah, I think you just got to force the fight on whatever army is here, hope you win, and then get into the main, shut down production, and then that is your winning condition, not take down a base, because, yeah, Clem doesn't care about a base right now. That doesn't stop him. Now we recall home to what, like, 1/2 mine base? I just... Yeah, I don't disagree. Sorry, I don't agree with what he's doing right now. This is... Yeah, I feel like he should have just fought that army, then maybe recall and fight this Sonic, right? If you fight a lot of it, you don't necessarily have to go camp production. Maybe then you pull back, then you push again. It just feels like the combination in which he's doing things at the moment isn't making much sense.
Yeah, indeed. And our observer Sebastian here catching everything. As Clem is pulling the army of Goblin on one side, he's moving with the rest of his army on the other side. And that's exactly what you want. He's going to go to deny a base that doesn't even exist. And I mean, he's just going to realize that he's won the game at that point. So he just backs away. He's like, oh, okay. Like, I was here to kill your base. You don't even have that.
And I mean, I don't blame him for assuming that he does have it, right? Because, I mean, from Clem's point of view, Goblin's just like, oh, you know, I'm recalling home because my bases are set back up maybe. You know, I feel like I've got a good enough economy to go home. And that's why it doesn't really make sense that he recalled, because he went home to nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been kind of like not a great game for the most part, to be honest. Like, it's been a long game, yes, but Goblin had opportunities, but he secured himself an advantage early on, and ever since it feels like it's been all Clem, right? Like, just not really giving Goblin much to work with here.
Yeah, there's been like a fight where I was like, oh, Goblin, but he just could never get across the map, do anything with it. Yeah, it's been tough if you're a Goblin fan, and if you're cheering for the upset today, is it looks like eventually Clem's going to get it done. But like you say, I mean, it was definitely a little troubling early. I wonder a lot of kind of what changes Goblin might make for game number 2, because it must feel bad getting the lead in the game 1 and then not being able to close it out. And you're like, well, what if I don't get the gaming, don't get the lead in game number 2, right? That's then a problem you've got to deal with. Yeah, it's going to be rough. As this fight obviously is just going the way of Clem. He's got so much firepower. The Vikings are just chewing through units. The super battery slowing that process down for a few moments now, but yeah, that was it's still pretty comfortable, all said and done, and Clem takes down another base, and Goblin continues to long distance mine, and that's kind of a good summary of his hopes in this game right now. It's a long way off after really being hopeful.
Yeah, it's so impossible at this point. I mean, Clem has a bank, he has all the real estate, he maybe has the better army. It doesn't really matter if he does at this point. But yeah, it's gonna be a little bit slow to close it. There's a lot of disruptors. You have to be careful around those, have to not run into those. Good disruptor connects there, but hard to get excited at this point. It's over.
Yep, it was over for a while, I think, at the end of the day. And
yeah,
the base trady situation, I was like, well, yeah, maybe, but I just can't get behind that recall. You're right, he has to go. I feel like that was just him not identifying what his win condition might be, not realizing how he gets this game won. And you got to be able to do that in games like this.
Yeah, just absolutely brutal, I think, because Goblin, like we've been pointing out, he really had a stellar start to the game, right? Like, he really had a position from which he shouldn't have lost. And then, for my taste, he made too many zealots, and his fourth base, like being the fourth base, this in retrospect, obviously, right? It's difficult to plan for every map ahead of time and whatnot, but or like for your fourth base and how that might play out, etc., right? And the composition that your opponents go in, etc. But the fact that he took that fourth base at the front made it just even worse for those zealots, because all of a sudden Clem has all of the map working for him, with all of those corners that he can just sit his marines in, that he can sit his mines in. And zealots don't want to turn corners, much less when they are billions of zealots turning corners, because you're just gonna get taxed so hard to even begin the engagement. Like you said, for example, like maybe if he can find a flank with some of the zealots, but those would also be turning a nasty corner as well. So like I didn't even mind that Goblin didn't go for a flank. I just didn't think that was the position to fight, and that is the position that he was forced to defend because of the fort that he took. So if you're gonna be forced into that position, you can't just make zealots. Yeah.
We're going to get 2K atmospheres for map number 2. I mean, if we do get to game 3, Glittering Ashes. So a lot of like very what we'd call kind of like larger standard maps, right? Not any shorter rush distances or anything. So we'll see what happens on 2K. I think Clem's obviously going to be looking for a better start. I was very confused by Clem at the start. I was like, well, why are we still attacking into something which is clearly designed to like just stop? You know what, Kat's like? You're very brave in saying it, because you're like, this wasn't a very good game. And actually, when you look back on it, it wasn't, right?
It was sloppy by both. Decision. Yeah. Like Clem recovered and he played excellent come the late game. Like, he showed up in the form that we expect him to. But yeah, the start was kind of disappointing from him as well. So yeah, we're loaded into this one. I'm sure both players waking up, or I guess not. They're in Europe. In the bottom left-hand side, it is for Liquid. Clem on the planche. He's one of the best Terrans in the world. Everyone has rough starts and rough games too.
I think you'll find it's actually very likely Clem was just waking up, because Clem's sleep schedule is
That's
like
true,
no other.
yeah. That is...
In the top right side, our blue Protoss here from Team Rotti, his Goblin.
And Goblin did find an advantage early on, right? Like, he did have good moves to stop that, to capitalize on the army of Clem being mispositioned and stuff like that. So, like, some props he does deserve in that early game. He carved himself a little bit of an advantage on the back of some of the smaller mistakes that Clem made. It's just you have to be able to close it out and identify what problems you're going to have. I feel like he did that when he was in dire straits towards the end, when he was making those Tempests. I really like that decision. But yeah, I mean, Clem just kind of circumvented fighting him at that point. So that was in turn a good decision from Clem. And there was just no coming back from Goblin.
It was difficult to get back in that game, and like I say, there was chances, there was moments. There's that one fight they both went down 140. I was like, well, Goblin's got like 2k, 1k, but he just couldn't get across the map. And the Liberators felt like they came out at the perfect time, because they started popping, and Goblin's like, I just can't go. And maybe just didn't know maybe how little Clem would be able to build up off the back of that. So yeah, just a tough first game, and interested to see if Goblin can, of course, keep his composure after losing that one to make the second game competitive. Oh, if Clem might just go full Clem, right? He's like, right, okay. That was a little bit too close. Let's just get ahead early. Let's just do my thing, micro well, and just, get this one sorted sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he's gonna be annoying here. The Colossus as well. Oh my god, those Colossus died without doing anything, right? Like they just died backing away. Yeah, all right. Well, this is a new game. I'm sure these players are reset and they're both fantastic, very intelligent players. I'm sure that they're gonna give us a show here as Clem has found a little bit of an annoying position from the RNG onto his SCV. That means the probe's not only not gonna get the SCV, but die in the process of trying to. So This is a good start for Clem.
Yep, and now we gotta get probe down to the low ground to build a battery. You need a battery here, otherwise this Reaper harass just goes on basically forever. The Stalker can't stay in range to fight it and hit the bunker long enough, so this is already nice from Clem. You're gonna force the battery you're looking for. You've killed a couple probes early in the game. Clem's already gonna be happy with this.
Yeah, it takes only one shot of hull damage there. But yeah, you want to leverage the whole of the shields, so that's good play from Goblin here. Gets all of the shields down so that the Nexus doesn't end up taking any damage. Gonna do the same thing with this Stalker, and then when the shield battery is up, you can re-engage. So this is a job well done, but at the same time, Clem came for what he or accomplished what he came for, right? Like gets the initial probe, and if we look at the main, there's oversaturation on the side of Goblin, so it is annoying. He's losing out on a little bit more economy than this might lead you to believe.
Bunker is going to get salvaged as well, so you get that money back. Of course, it's Clem making this less of a commitment, of course. And you can't do that with the battery, although it's kind of nice to have a battery there for later on as well, but maybe you could have built it a bit later if it was going to come down to being under attack or so. So yeah, annoying stuff from Clem as he now loses the Reaper early, and now that Reaper's going to be difficult to keep alive. A Stalker cuts the corner, and the Stalker gets the kill. It's just a little bit of annoyance because you lose the scout and info, but he already gained kind of the scout he was looking for. And Clem just going to move it up into a Raven to begin with, into extra barracks behind this, not wasting too long getting towards Bio, but we'll have a little bit of a tech support on his way there.
Yeah, that Reaper was out for the Kamikaze mission, so finds what he was looking for, ultimately sees the Twilight Council, so he has to know that there's Blink on the way, given the number of Stalkers, and he is going to be making a tank. He's already making a Raven as well. This bunker's not going to be in time, but there's only 3 Stalkers, so the SUV will actually survive with a prompt pull-off.
Chasing these Stalkers down, getting one of them kind of low. You would not expect Stalkers to die here, but sometimes Micro can surprise you. Obviously, Clem is making space to get the bunker up. Once that's done, immediately Marines get inside. So it was kind of a fight that Clem had to take, because otherwise the bunker gets delayed a bit more than he wants it to be, and it's more of an issue for longer. This Hellion's going to get by, just another nice scout. Gets to see the Robo, is going to pop up in the main, be like, okay, nothing really wild. There's not a ton of gateways or anything, so yeah, great scout. He even gets one probe, of course, cherry on top.
Yeah, beautiful moves though from Goblin. I mean, like you said, Clem is forced to defend the bunker there, but Goblin does kind of like capitalize on that, right? Like with the Stalkers kind of kiting back with good micro, picks off quite a few Marines. And here the Hellion does end up getting, I think, one probe, but Goblin does a really good job of plugging the hole as well as he's moving in between shots. He goes to cover the cracks to make sure that the Hellion has no way out, to make sure that the Hellion can't commit further into the mineral line. So Goblin now seems to be much more focused than in the previous game, and yeah, I think this is pretty good. If we look at the resources lost tab, already 300 resources ahead, that's not too bad.
Yeah, no, definitely a strong start as we just get ourselves a few Stalkers to stay at the front and keep on keeping that pressure up. Clem will have Stim and Combat Shield soon. He will send his Raven out. It's kind of fun on this map because you have those dead areas where you can leave the Raven, so you can get a couple of auto turrets to harass initially, and then still get it to gather energy, and then basically like almost flank the army and like maybe hit a Colossus on its way back to the Terran Force when the bigger push happens later. So that's something we might end up seeing, but definitely looking for an auto turret or two at least to begin with. Try and just eke out the economical lead early on 2K.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of this in TVT, just because I like the energy offensively or defensively or offensively against tanks rather than harassing. I think that the Raven's just much better at that in the early game than it is at killing a couple of probes. And there will be Colossus on the way with thermal lance. So, you know, like if you manage to time it to where you end up having the energy to disable 1 or 2 Colossus on the attack, then great. But I've seen this just kill so many Terrans to kill a couple of probes at this stage.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Sometimes you lose that Raven, then you're just like without what you need. Yeah, I mean, this is fine. Denying some mining, gets a little cancel on that third base as well, and got a battery or a pylon in the mineral line. And at the same time, he's pushing forward with the main army.
Yeah, Goblin has to be pretty careful here, utilizing his blink to his highest potential. But I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about. Is he gonna be able to disable the Colossus? He does have the energy, I think, for one interference matrix, so that's nice. Is the Raven going to be able to join up with the army is the next question, and it comes from behind for a flank. It's looking for that Colossus. Excellent force field here from Goblin. Great pickup from Clem as well to answer.
And Clem pulled the Raven back to the top, says, no, this isn't the moment, this isn't my time. Yeah, it was what I was saying earlier, right? This Raven just sits there, and eventually it can sneak out and just kind of flank the Colossus and they hit the Matrix. But at this point, Clem's stimmed too much. He's not really been able to fully heal up in a while, so might just be trying to slow this down and give up on it for a few moments and just say, no, this attack ain't working. Time to look towards my next opportunity in this game, as the Raven seems to decide the same. Just drops an auto turret down, says, if I'm not going to end up Matrixing, may as well auto turret and harass the mineral line as much as I can.
Yeah, and I like that, right? Because it is consistent with his moving back. So when he moves back, then he does the turret. Whereas before, he was kind of like doing the turret as he was moving out. That to me is a little bit inconsistent, but at the same time, Clem accounted for it because he still had energy for one interference matrix, and there was only one Colossus out at that point. So yeah, Clem did this great, actually. And now, I mean, Goblin took a little bit of damage, nothing that should be game-ending, but the supply doesn't seem to reflect the trades here. I don't know if Clem has just been much cleaner in the back, or if there's something else that I just haven't picked up on.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's one of those things where Clem's so good at kind of putting on this pressure, keeping that macro up, and now he's about to have 1-1 as well, right? So his upgrades are looking good. Got the armory on the way, got the Ghost Academy coming up, and obviously getting the Viking count going too. Just across the board, Clem is well set up for the future of this game. I love his position, and gotta feel a little bit worried for Goblin. You know, we kind of saw him going into similar sort of armies last time around, and it didn't really work then after he was ahead, so feels kind of tough that he might make it work now. We'll see, because Clem, like I say lately, has just seemed so comfortable with Viking Ghost bio armies.
Yeah, and I mean, Goblin is continuing to produce probes, but he has been lagging behind Clem. Clem is already at 65 workers, and he stopped producing it like a minute ago or something. So the fact that Goblin is now just getting caught up is not great news for him just mechanically, right? Like the Raven killed maybe like 5 probes total or so. But, or actually we can just check how many, it killed 4 probes total. So there should not be this disparity just on the back of things, because you even have the Chronobus to work with, which means you should be able to get more workers out than your Terran counterpart.
Yeah, absolutely. As a couple more ghosts, by the way, about halfway done. Just gonna see this force splitting on 2 sides. One's to attack, one's to strike. Not finding the chances yet. Gonna still in here. I mean, Goblin's a little setback. I mean, the overall army here, I don't think can fight from Clem. Hits a nice EMP on his exit. Everything else. Oh, yeah, close disruptor shot. He's bringing the rest of this force around, so he's going to come in from the bottom side with it. And suddenly it's going to be everything here from Clem. And Goblin hasn't rotated his units from the top side back to this main army.
Yeah, there is that corner to protect him a little bit. But yeah, he needs everything here. He hasn't spotted yet the flank from Clem. So let's see if he's able to do something here. Those disruptors are pretty good, especially against the ghosts. Potentially, the Vikings are trying to do what they can against the Colossus, as the shield battery overcharge is gonna run out now. So now is what we were talking about earlier. I think if you're a Goblin, you have to commit and just try to get as much juice out of those Colossus as possible. He's gonna do exactly that as he steps on forward, but Clem with great kiting here. Still, the Colossus output some damage as opposed to nothing. But oh, great disruptor shot there towards the end as well. And with that, maybe there's a chance that Goblin ends up holding.
Oh my god, the Raven gets a few more auto turrets down.
My god.
Finally gets shot down. We're going to kill the battery off, and then we're going to go after a pylon here. Isn't going to unpower anything per se, although maybe kills a disruptor. The auto turrets run out of life. That would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, now Clem has to be a little bit careful here. He has reinforced with additional Vikings, but there's only disruptors now out on the field. No Colossus in production either. No ghosts to be a liability, I guess, to the disruptor shots. Though obviously they are generally good for the EMP regardless. But yeah, I mean, Goblin's army doesn't look too great, right? If those disruptor shots don't connect, he has like 0 damage right now.
Yep, those disruptors are bust right in. That's kind of the issue. A little bit of mine drop here. Isn't going to do too much. 2 probe. The Stalker. Nope, Stalker blinks, but actually does lead it into a probe anyway, so the probe's still going down. Yeah, I mean, it's feeling I would say it feels like as though Goblin's like alive, but Clem still has a, the driver's seat in his possession, and he's just going to keep up this pressure. He's going to stop Goblin getting to 5th base easily. That's the thing, Goblin's not done anything to Clem's side of the map in what feels like an eternity at this point, as well as Disruptors cleaning out some mines.
Yeah, and yeah, this is kind of the Clem show at this point. It's very difficult for Goblin to do anything, and his army doesn't give me that much hope either. I would like to see at least a sentry or something for Guardian Shield at this point, but just Zealots and Stalkers, and it's not even that many Zealots. It's not much consistent damage output. The Warpins for the Zealots in the front line here are nice for Goblin, should he be able to take an engagement here. He does have the Disruptors as well. Clem continues to kite as Goblin can blink on forward, maybe pick off a Marauder or two and medevac on the retreat. But yeah, Clem not really giving him too much.
No, Clem's just refusing to kind of give him many chances or advantages or ways back into this game, obviously, so doing a good job of it, I gotta say. And even though the supplies started closing a little bit, just again, it's all about Clem. Clem's picking every single fight, and when that's the case, it just feels like how can Goblin expect to win a fight when he's always the responder? He's always the one that's got to just kind of be like, oh, okay, we're fighting over here. Oh, okay, we're fighting over there. It's so tough at that stage, and Clem splitting this army up again. We'll see what he can do with some Liberator support as well.
Yeah, and let's see if Goblin can do anything to hold on as well. It's going to be pretty difficult. This army looks pretty scary on the left-hand side.
Yep.
Oh, he's bringing the Disruptors.
Yeah, left army looks scary. Right army, maybe not as much, but maybe the right army could possibly dive in the main. I think there are some units there right now, but, it's a possibility. And these Disruptors, they don't know where to go, man. They're like, oh, yeah, we go this way. No, we go that way. It's like, you have enough to split. Maybe we should split them between both the bases.
Yeah, and I mean, Disruptors to rely on against Clem in particular out of all Terrans in the world. But, like this guy is like a highlight reel machine against Disruptors, basically. So it's just so difficult to imagine that he's going to be getting hit too hard. But hey, me! Oh, no! Be careful!
Those Disruptors are in sync, man. They're like, nah. They're like, no, we should go for it, buddy.
Yeah. Okay, good link forward there.
Yeah, I like that. Stalker for Lib. That's nice. That's nice. The Disruptor should give the bio army far enough back here that I think the Stalker should be able to make a play for the other Libs. Like, yep, he's going to force the unsiege. He doesn't get the kill, but at least he's forced it back. That is kind of a step number one of this, so there's something there.
There is something there. Finally, the target transitions here are coming for Goblin. I'm not sure if we're going to see Tempests again, because as much, again, as compositionally, that makes a lot of sense. And it looks really good on paper to me. Like, I imagine the fight. I see the Tempest doing pretty great to bait the army into Disruptors, and then I don't know how the turn wins, right? Like, if you have to fight into that many Disruptors, you're not going to be able to dodge those no matter who you are. But the problem here is that Clem showed last game that he can very well play around that and just play on the other opposite side of the map or of wherever the very clumped up army of Goblin is going to be. And that army is very difficult to split as well. So, yeah, not sure. We'll see if he decides to go for Tempest again. I would imagine so. Yeah, it's going to be for the time.
I think it makes sense. He's got to break down those Liberators from afar as Clem coming through, and man, this position just doesn't seem to be going anywhere for Goblin, and now it's really bad because the Zealots are gone, so the Stalkers are in trouble. Fighting over on this right side, Disruptor shots do not land. They just don't go far enough. This one is the same story. Clem is breaking through on the top. He is making progress on the right. And I gotta say that I think Goblin is really running into a lot of trouble now. I think this is turning out to be a little rough for him.
Yeah, really rough. I mean, we have 9 Disruptors, and I can't remember the last time we saw a meaningful connection, right? So it's not looking fantastic for Goblin. Here, good blink forward with the Zealot reinforcements. Maybe he'll be able to push this back, as the Disruptors do kill some Zealots there, so that's something. And Goblin's gonna be forced to GG.